we'll go straight into it. I know you mentioned, you had some challenges in the beginning with fertility and conception and everything else like that. So if you can just kind of tell us, briefly about that experience, how that was for you, because we know, once we get married in our community, the expectation is 9 months later they're coming for a mugwa, or everyone has their own way of calling a mugwa, like the parents coming over, mom coming over to support you during your postpartum, experience and everything. So can you just talk to us about that?
Okay. So like I said, we moved down to the UK just a year after our wedding. So like she's just mentioned, African culture, you're expected to I think a year is even too much. Like within 3 months, 6 months, people are already expecting you to have, to look, especially the women, to look a certain way. Like you have your bump, your body changing and looking like you're pregnant and things like that. It's like an expectation. It's like a stereotype that has been built up over the years, many, many years ago. So, but for me, it was a little bit different because we left after 1 year, so there was no much um external issues in terms of people checking me out and stuff like that because I was no longer within reach. I was far away in the UK, in fact, where no family and friends were. They could only see my pictures on Facebook if I posted them. So, and you know how Facebook and social media is, you show them what you want them to see. So I didn't have those kind of pressure initially. So what we did was we tried and we felt, oh, this is not coming through. What could be the problem? We were quite young at that time, and we decided to go to the hospital. We saw our GP, and our GP, sent us for a few tests, which we both did, and they said we're fine, that there was nothing that could really be a concern to them. We were fine. I think one thing that they did mention after all the series of tests was that they saw like a 2 centimeter fibroid, which was not in a location where it could affect conception. So there was no cause for alarm. We shouldn't be worried about that. It just what the scan picked up. So we kept on trying, and they referred us to a gynecologist and specialists, to look further into what kind of practical solution they could give us since we were young and everything was fine, and what could they do. And where we that was how my journey started. Completely changed. It just took a new turn. Someone who was happily married, enjoying her marriage, trying to conceive, and on a low key, how you you are not even fully aware of what the subject is about. Like I didn't even I know that I had an auntie that struggled to have children, but it wasn't a thing in my head. Like, when you're getting married, you don't have those fears hanging around you. Oh, no, that's not gonna happen. That it wasn't I wasn't expecting, to experience this kind of thing. It wasn't planned. No one plans evil. But so it was at that time it dawned on me that, oh look, we are now in this journey. And because it started building up from appointments to referrals to have a hysterectomy, laparoscopy, whatever, like it just the appointments kept building and building up. And that was when I started, feeling the pressure of trying to conceive. And one of the days we met the consultants, he said, we can offer you treatments like IUI, which is intrauterine insemination. And with this, because of your age and the way you two are, I think IUI will benefit you guys much more than taking it further to other treatment plans. So we jumped at it. We took that offer, and we started the procedure straight away. it was hectic for me because most of the tests, most of the checks, regular checks, and everything was done on me, as the women's body. And the man just does like one or two tests, and that's fine. So at that time, my husband was he was studying, like I said, and he was really engaged in his study, and you don't want to um, distract him with fertility issues and matters and all of it. So I was kind of bearing most of the emotional, um, well, I say emotional side of the process. And yeah, most of the appointments I was going to them because obviously it's 90% the women that go through the test and everything that is involved around infertility. So when the IUI started, I we went for it. We're hopeful. Okay, it's the first procedure, the help me procedure. It's gonna work. We're positive. We had it, and we had a hitch the first day. One of the hitch we had that first day was they couldn't access. I'm going to be this conversation is real. I just want to drop that disclaimer, please. It is a real conversation. There is nothing to hide about it because this topic we've hidden it for donkey years. Like it's something we've been hiding and hiding, and we haven't allowed people to come out to express themselves or learn anything and be aware that they're not alone. So I'm going to be as real as possible. So we got through the IUI process, and they had a little hitch where they couldn't access my service to pass through the sperm because IUI, intrauterine insemination, works in a way where they extract the sperm of the man, check everything, make sure that it's all okay, and then they prepare the woman's body, the hormones, the ovary, the follicles, and make sure that everything is okay, and then they transfer that into the woman at the right time and hoping that there is conception. So in my own case, everything was ready, but they couldn't access the service, which is the door to the womb, to transfer the sperm. So that was where I think that was where the whole world started to crumble. I'm like, we've gone through all the whole procedures. Come on, just to access the service. Why is this? Why is that? So that was when I started to feel the pain of that journey because we had the first IUI, the second IUI. After the first IUI, so they sent me back for another procedure. I think that was laparoscopy to help expand, the service to make it accessible for the transfer to happen. So I had that. I went for a second IUI. In that second one, I think we had a similar experience. They finally got through, but it was both of them were failed. So, long story short, I had four failed IUIs, and within those four procedures, I was battling, with service not being accessible, and sometimes it's accessible. It was just going up and down. So it made me have way more than other procedures to just help aid the process. So when it got failed in the fourth one, the consultant said to me, "Look, guys, I don't know what's happening. I had thought that this would work for you guys, and if it's not working, then we have to bring up our plan B." So their plan B was to do a surgery and take off the fibroid. Remember, I mentioned that they did see a tiny 2 centimeter fibroid that was not affecting anything at all. So I was a bit worried. So why would you do a surgery to just take out a 2 centimeter fibroid that wasn't in any position that could affect conception? Why would I have to go through that process just because do you think it's affecting conception? I said, we don't really think so, but at this point, having tried what you've done, we just want to eliminate every obstacle on the way and make sure that the road is clear. So I struggled with that for a long time. I did not give my consent, and At this point, I was emotionally drained. I was tired of going for appointments. I was really, really tired. I was tired of being poked around, especially this whole, like Kiwi said, this subject is very, is something that people carry with so much care. So I was tired of my body being poked around. You know what I mean? Like, I'm being examined. I was feeling I've become a subject of research, by the medical people or something. It was terrible. So I was emotionally drained. And at this point, I have gotten to the point where I didn't want to continue. So I didn't respond to the letter because I'm a Christian. So I started praying about this whole fibroid surgery and everything. And I felt somehow in me that I was feeling much better and I felt healing. I had a conviction that I was healed. But you can't explain things like this to the medical people. How would you tell them you're healed? What does that mean? So the doctor said, okay, don't worry, come for the surgery. We'll book you in. When we see the fibroids, we take them away. If we don't see them, then we leave you in peace. At least we have tried to make sure that everything was fine. So I reluctantly agreed and gave my consent, and I went for that surgery. That was in 2014 or so. Did you know, guys, that while I was in that treatment room, after 3 hours, when I woke up, I was expecting to see this fibroid. Like how people come out of the surgery and they see what has been taken out of them. So I asked the nurse, "Where is the fibroid? Where is the thing that you've taken out?" She said, "The doctor is coming to speak to you." And this doctor came to me and said, "Sorry, we couldn't find anything." And I was shocked. I was like, wow, why would you say that? You couldn't find anything. Where did he go? You are one of the best consultants ever, gynecologist in the UK. So why would you say that you put me through for 3 hours and you couldn't find anything? So I was confused. They were confused. I knew that I said I was healed, but I wanted to know what their explanations could be. But anyway, they couldn't explain it. And that was how I left the hospital and went back to my fertility journey. So I went back to the fertility consultant. I said, now that the fibroid is gone, can we proceed to the next treatment plan? And that was IVF. IVF is in vitro fertilization. So when we signed up for IVF, we started the process. So because IVF is a little bit deeper, or will I say more broad than IUI. So in this case, they will have to take the egg from the woman and take the sperm from the man and then put them together and they fingers crossed they get fertilized, so it becomes what we call embryo. I'm trying to be very simple in my explanation. And when it becomes an embryo, they look at the quality of these embryos and check how viable they can be. And before this process, the woman's body, the ovaries would have been prepared. They'll give loads of injection. It's practically around 6 to 8 weeks procedure. So they start with your scans and your injections and all of that involved, and they make sure that the woman can produce eggs and good eggs, and they will take the eggs and then they will take the quality, the good sperm, and they do what they can do to produce an embryo. So we started the process, but before that, they had to do a pilot process for me. Remember that I had a history of not accessing the service when they are doing the IUI. So they had to do a pilot process to make sure that the service can be assessed before we can go into IVF, because IVF is much longer than IUI and it takes a lot to do. So we did that and it was successful. So the pilot study was successful. They passed through the catheter through the to the service, and they were like, wow, okay, let's carry on. So we carried on with the process. Guys, on the 8th week or so, when it was time for the transfer of the embryo, we could only get one embryo. And that one was like one embryo, like the only option, the only thing. There was not two, there was not three. And on the day of the transfer, the yeah, so what we feared happened again. they could not access the service on this big day. And I was in the hospital for only God knows how long I was, because this transfer doesn't take more than 15 minutes. Once you are everything is ready, in 15 minutes you should be able to go to the treatment room and be happy to go. But my case took more than hours. They kept trying and they kept trying and it was traumatizing. Like, because the way the process works, you have to have a filled up full bladder. So when the first time, if it doesn't go through, you go empty your bladder, you keep going back and forth, and they keep poking you around trying to access the service. So that was the most difficult time of my life, where I just felt, why would we come through this whole 6 to 8 weeks, and just the last bit of it is been a struggle. um so the consultant had to make a professional decision, and she said, look, I'm not going to keep trying, this is not working, and I don't want to affect your womb or stuff or anything. I will preserve this embryo for you and send you back for another procedure, a hysteroscopy or whatever, to go and help expand your cervix. That was it for me, and I cried. I cried so badly that day. I remember before, how it was more like a rejection. I felt so rejected. I felt so not good enough. I felt so, I looked at, because the other ladies were in my badge, because we did it in badges. And when I saw them all leaving with their procedures done, I felt, what is wrong with me? Why can't my procedure, take place like every normal human being? I felt really bad. I had to stay in the treatment room for a very long time, and I cried and I just let the whole emotions out. And I knelt down in the hallway of the hospital, which is very, guys, don't do this if you don't think it's you can do it. But out of frustration, I knelt down on the hallway of the hospital as I was coming out, and I said to God, I am not, remember, this is my fifth procedure with them, failed. So I said to God, I feel ashamed, like I am feeling not good enough. I'm feeling rejected. I'm feeling, oh, this body can't do what other bodies can do. I am feeling all of these emotions, but I'm not coming back to this hospital or to this fertility center for another procedure. I'm coming back next time with my child. And the whole, how you're hearing voices. Like, I started hearing voices. The nurses were at the reception. They probably would have seen me on the CCTV. What is she doing? And things like that. So I could just hear voices. Oh, they're laughing at you. Look at you. Oh, or maybe that's, oh, poor lady. Because that's the word here in the UK. Oh, it's a shame. Oh, that didn't work out. Oh, like that. I was just hearing all those kind of voices in my ear. And I left the hospital. And I got home and I cried and I cried and I cried some more, and on top of it. Anyway, this summary of it is that within 7 to 10 days I was pregnant.